Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sonia, also known as SG from Let the Ladies Speak podcast, where we have healthy discussions about life, love, dating, and relationships while promoting self-love and healing. Here on my YouTube channel, I discuss reality TV and hot topics. I give my analysis, share my perspective, offer insight, and give advice based on my life, career, and my studies. If you don't know, I love to study psychology, including forensic psychology. Tonight, we're talking about Married at First Sight, season 14, episode 7. This episode was a lot, in my opinion. Let me know if you feel the same in the description box below. I will timestamp this video, and I'm going to offer a trigger warning for Michael and Jasmina, just so you know. Also, I noticed that this episode had a lot of trends. There was trend of dishonesty, there's a trend of not considering a partner, and there's a trend of projection, but we're going to get into it. But first and foremost, I have to welcome you. If you are new to my channel, if you're a new subscriber, thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. I appreciate your support. If you are family, you coming back, hey family, welcome back, good to see you. If you're just passing through, please let me know if you enjoy the content by subscribing to my channel or hitting the thumbs up button. I appreciate you as well. First up, we have Chris and Alyssa, and the bleeding has finally stopped, and we are all grateful for that. And good job for Chris for saying enough is enough. Okay, we're not going to do this anymore because Alyssa, you need to stop. Let's get into it. So Chris moves into the apartment, and I think he stays for like a day or so, and Alyssa doesn't. Chris goes and meets with his friend, and they play disc golf, and they were very serious. And then Alyssa met with her mom. Alyssa's conversation with her mom was very interesting. For one, her mother had some really, really good questions, but you can look at the mother's face and tell that she already knew the answer. Like, you know your child, and you know she didn't want to be with him, and you know she didn't find him attractive. You know, she was like, he's a nice kid. I thought you were going to get a cowboy. I'm like, no, you never know what you're going to get. That's one reason why Alyssa wasn't a good fit for this show. Like, if you have very particular standards, this is not the show for you, or requirements, whatever the case may be. If you are extremely particular, this isn't a good show. I don't think. Anyway, so they have a discussion, and Alyssa comes up with more reasons why she doesn't feel like Chris was a good fit for her. But the bottom line is, you're not attracted to him. And I really would like for her to stand on her truth on that. You're not attracted to him, and everything after that just made matters worse, because every time we turn around, there's a different reason why you're not attracted to him. Now, she did say on the honeymoon that they were not compatible. He said that she's never had that conversation, but he's also said that they have had that conversation. I don't know what to believe or who's being completely honest, because honestly, both of them have said conflicting statements. One minute he says she doesn't talk to him off camera. Next minute he says she does, but she doesn't talk to him about the relationship. Like, there's just a lot. I don't know. It doesn't matter now. I'm happy that, you know, they have separated. Chris is talking to his friend, and his friend pretty much was like, if you had told me about anybody else who was talking about a psychic and a tattoo, I would pretty much be like, it's time to move on. He didn't say that. I'm paraphrasing, but I think that's what he meant. I could be wrong, but that's my thought. And they later meet with Pastor Kyle. And so Alyssa comes, and I'm like, Alyssa, stop it. Alyssa comes and says she's trying to see what we can do. You know, there's nothing that can be done. You don't even want to breathe the same air that this man is breathing. I need Alyssa to stand on her truth. Again, you need to acknowledge that you just didn't find him attractive. What she did say eventually, what Pastor Kyle asked her, she didn't find him attractive. And everything else really didn't matter to her. I don't think it just made matters worse. But the bottom line is, she didn't find him attractive. And that could be physically and with personality. I think it's a little bit of both, but I think initially for sure it was the lack of physical attraction she had for him. I don't think she was a good fit for this show. There was a woman that they said was wanted to be a wife. I wonder why they didn't pick her for the show and instead picked Alyssa, because it was made pretty clear that physical attributes were vital to her, right? Which isn't really good for this environment. Anyway, they have a conversation about when this all started and what was the intention of the meeting. And, you know, she said again, I just want to see where we can go, what we can do. And Chris was like, I'm done. I'm finished. It's over. So good for Chris. Chris said today is my decision day and I want a divorce. So that's it between the two of them. And he said, have a nice life. And she had attitude. She wasn't happy. I want Alyssa to work on why she's so emotional. I wonder if this is pure emotion, just emotional instability, or is this manipulation? I'm curious about that. I want her to work on that. Again, I've stated my concerns about Chris. I'm wondering why you've been in all of these relationships back to back to back. You never committed before. And why haven't you committed? But you stay in long-term relationships. Like, why are you a serial monogamous? And do you really know yourself? And do you really know what you want? Like, are you clear on that? And where is your self-esteem really truly? I think honestly, and I know people are not going to like this, I think they both had an alternate agenda. I'm not saying that they didn't want to be married, but I think they both had an alternate agenda. I think being on TV for both of them could have been beneficial. The sad part is that for Alyssa, because of her behavior and rejection of him, she's not going to get she's probably not going to get the outcome that she initially wanted. You know what I mean? I really think Alyssa felt like, you guys got this wrong, so I should be able to stay and still enjoy this whole experience. But that's just not how this works. This is a show about marriage. And quite frankly, you and Chris being there in the state you're in would just be a distraction. You being there by yourself would just be a distraction. So I am happy that it's over and we can now concentrate on the other couples, because there's some other issues that really need to be addressed, and the experts really need to step in on quite a few of these issues and all of the couples, in my opinion. All right, let's go on to the next couple. So next up we have Mark and Lindsay. Let me just say this. Sometimes people get into relationships solely so they can have a project. They want someone to change and to mold into what they feel will make them comfortable, who they wish they were or could be, or so that they can treat them how they wish they were treated. But they have no regard for the actual person. Now, in this case, because it's married at first sight and other people select their partners, I give a little leniency there. But ultimately, a lot of these people just want somebody to change. I see that a lot with married couples and couples in general, and I hear the conversation or have the conversations with them, and there's a lot of what's wrong with them without them looking at themselves or being even willing to assess themselves and make any changes to who they are as a person. No one is perfect. We are all imperfect. We're all a work in progress, and we're all a sum of our environments, our experiences, and our traumas. And so you have to allow a person a space to be who they are individually. It concerns me that Lindsay sometimes lacks a lot of empathy for Mark. I think she feels like she needs to help him, but she really needs to help herself. I don't have an issue with anybody helping their partner, supporting their partner, trying to motivate their partner to be the best versions of themselves. But when you are dismissive, degrading, abusive, or any of those things, that is an issue. And her and Elijah Wan have that issue. And I personally believe they have the issue for the same reason. It's for that lack of acceptance of themselves, the low self-esteem, the insecurities, the feeling like if I can put all this energy towards you, I won't have to look at me, and most importantly, you won't see the imperfections of me, and you won't leave me. Abandonment issues run deep, and it shows up in a lot of ways. And when you see a lot of people trying to change people, motivate people, and do things like that, you sometimes have to check, where is this coming from? Is this coming from a place of insecurity of your own, or is this coming from a place of, I've survived and I want to just help support you through this process? And I think it's the first for the two of them. So it's moving day, and they are in their hazmat suits to go get the bed bugs. Y'all, we have patients that have bed bugs sometimes, and it could be a whole lot packing up their clothes and their belongings and things like that, because you want to make sure they don't spread to other parts of the hospital. But I have a lot of questions about this situation. Like, I want to know how they got there, because this has caused a rift, I think, between the landlord person, friend, mother figure, or is it just her and Lindsay? So they're packing up all of Mark's belongings, and I don't think Lindsay can put herself in his shoes. In other words, she's not being empathetic towards him. This is his life. These are his belongings. These are his memories. This is his space. And there's a lot happening to him in a short period of time. And she won't even take the opportunity to take a breath to recognize that and say, what do you need from me? Which is a question that Pastor Kyle asked her later on, which was a great question. She's not doing that because, again, she's focused on her own goals and her own intentions, right? I'm going to make you get rid of everything. That's what she really wants to do. Let me take care of it. I'll control it. I'll fix it. Again, it comes from a place of abandonment, in my opinion. Anyway, she knocked something over, and, it upset Mark. It's just a lot for Mark. Mark just has so much going on. He's gotten married at first sight. His wife is a lot. She's causing fights. And he's, according to him, used to being the one that takes care of people. And now she's taking care of him, but she's very pushy with it, and it's off-putting for him. So he pretty much sends her out the door because he's like, I don't want you tearing up anything else of mine, right? She can't see the importance of it. And I don't think she's processing the fact that he's lost his friend, he's losing his place, he's lost his belongings, and now he's going to be basically tied to her. I don't think she gets that. Like, for a man or for a person, period, that's been very independent, to have someone else have that much agency over them or control or perceived control can be a lot. And it can be really off-putting. So they later go to her apartment, and he keeps saying, this is so Lindsay, this is so Lindsay. And she's talking to her plants, and she's cleaning her plants, which and watering them, which is common practice for people who have a lot of plants. I don't know why, he thought that was so weird, but it just may be new to him. But a lot of people who have a lot of plants talk to their plants. It's actually really good for them. And it's therapeutic for some people who can't have pets, but they can have plants. Anyway, it's dawning on him that this won't be his space, I think. I think that's what it is. It's like it's so ingrained with Lindsay. For them, for all the couples, for any couple, I always recommend you guys starting afresh with a mutual space. It's odd when you two move into one another's space. I think it's always best to just start, with a shared space that you two select together. That way both people feel at home there. But he's talking about how her space is so her, so Mother Earth, and you can tell she's well traveled, and she likes culture. She likes to experience different cultures. And I think that is an issue too, because I think she feels like, because I'm so well rounded in real culture, again, I'm going to fix you. I'm going to make you experience all these things so that you like them. Really, her and Elijah Wine both, when they're doing this is really them saying, I'm good enough for you, so you should want to keep me, or you shouldn't want to leave me. Like, it goes much deeper than what we see just by looking at them. They're really communicating something else, and it can be so off-putting for people, understandably so, but that's really what's happening here. This is all a place of abandonment and insecurity, in my opinion. And I just feel like if she dealt with those things, she wouldn't be so forceful on him. So they're back at their shared apartment, and Lindsay is upset because she feels like Mark isn't present and he isn't consistent in who he is. For a person with abandonment issues, consistency is important because it triggers that fear that you're going to leave, whether that is physically leave or emotionally leave. The fact that you will leave and detach themselves, that pain is unbearable to somebody with abandonment issues. Now, I'm just saying, I don't know her personally, but that's the kind of pattern you see with an individual with abandonment issues. And but in that, she can't see where he's coming from, where he feels like, I'm being overtaken. I've lost a lot. And she needs to be able to empathize with that. I lost a lot. My life is changing really fast and I don't have an opportunity to get a hold over this. And it seems like Mark is more of a person who likes to be organized and controlled, and he is out of control and everything is out of control. And he just needs a moment for that. Lindsay, who wants to control the narrative for her own reasons, is also having an issue because it is important that Mark is consistent, like I said earlier, and he isn't being consistent, nor is he truly communicating what his concerns are. But I don't think Mark knows how to communicate with Lindsay, so they'll need help there. Later, Pastor Cal comes and meets with the two of them, and Pastor Cal asks a very important question. What do you guys need from each other? And they try to explain it. Lindsay decides that she's Mark's therapist, but she's not looking at her own part that she's playing in her own issues. She wants him not to be so readily available for everybody else and just focus on them, but she's not considering the fact that his whole life is exploding and it's hard to be that way, and you're trying to overtake my life, so you're not making it any better. Mark is not understanding that she's scared of being lost and left because of course Lindsay acts like she has it all together and she can help everybody, so he can't put himself in her shoes either. And I think they just need a moment for that. Pastor Kyle did give Lindsay some good advice and told her, give him a moment to process you. Lindsay didn't like that, but he needs a moment to process you. He also tells Mark, you have to understand that she wants to be affirmed. And Mark is like, yeah, that's good. My overall assessment personally is Mark is checked out. Mark is checked out. Mark does not care for Lindsay. He doesn't like her overbearing ways. I think he has concerns with her substance use. And I also think that he just doesn't like how she behaves. I think she brings a little bit too much. Pastor Kyle said, we got you two together because you both are a lot. And Mark, basically, this is what you asked for, right? But I don't think Mark asks for, he wants to be loved and he wants someone to be a giver just as much as he is. But I don't think he asks for somebody that would be overbearing and controlling and not consider him as a man or a human being. Like Lindsay, Mark is your husband. He's not your baby. He's not your child. And she sometimes talks to him that way. And not to mention the fact that she doesn't really give him a safe space. She calls him names whenever he's not doing what she wants. He's stupid. He's idiotic. He can't get it together. That's not cool. That's not cool at all. Those are all problems. And you're turning him off. And I really think Mark has checked out. Like I said before, I think Mark has seen enough and this is going to be a problem for them. I am curious as to what's going to be said on decision day, but Mark, you need a voice, and he doesn't speak his truth because he's trying to be nice, and it's like, just tell the truth. The problem with this new world is when you tell the truth, people get upset. But I am a believer that you have to speak up for yourself, no matter what. You have to protect yourself, and Mark really needs to learn to protect himself, to set up boundaries, and to say exactly what it is that he's thinking and not going along with something that's going to cause him to be resentful later. And I think that's what's happening here. He's starting to resent her a lot. And he made a very important statement too, actually. One, he feels like he's out of his skin. That's because everything is out of control and she's trying to take over everything for him in the name of quote unquote love. And then two, he said they're not here. They don't hear what she says, and that is a problem, Lindsay. That's the problem. So again, once you show a person that they are not safe in their communications with you, sharing their emotions or just being who they are, you're going to cause that person to retreat and or leave and or resent you. And then you get things like reactive abuse and things like that, or just abusive relationships in general, whether it's emotional or not, verbal, whatever the case may be. So I'm wishing them the best, but really I think this is pretty much over. I don't know what the experts are going to do to help them, only because I feel like Mark has pretty much decided that she is way too much for him. I think it needs to be important to remember that even though a man really, really likes you initially, men take their time. Like masculine energy is a logical energy, and they take their time and they always gather information on you until they have completely decided on you. Women live more in the moment, and they feel like that moment means the future, and that moment is just that, is that moment. So we need to, as women, use our masculine energy when it comes to thinking things through, because that is a logical energy. We all have masculine and feminine energy. You just have to know when to use it, the importance of it, and how they function in your life. And when you use them properly, they'll help you and take you very, very far. So best of luck to the two of them. But I'm curious about decision day, because I don't really see this going too much further. Not that I'm wishing bad on anyone. So next up we have Annoy and Steve. And after watching them, I have to say it is important to know why you want a relationship and why you want a partner, and where do you plan on being flexible and where not. You know, what really truly is important to you. Now I have to remember that these couples did not select each other, they were selected for them. And with that being said, they don't always give what the person wants, needs, or preference. They go to their apartment, their shared apartment, and Steve fits in the bed, which is a great thing. They start talking about sushi because it's sushi over everybody, and Sushi sleeps with Noi in her face. And Noi made it very clear that that is going to continue to happen. For me, the issue isn't that she wants Sushi to sleep with them. To me, it's that she won't even ask Steve how he feels about it. Is he able to do it? She's taking a hard stand that this is what's going to happen. So you're not even considering your partner, right? And that is a problem. And it shows a lack of respect. Once you show a person that you don't respect them, 9 times out of 10, they're going to return that energy, and they're not going to respect you either. Then you guys get into an all-out war and a standoff because neither of you feel respected. That leads to infidelity. It leads to abuse. It leads to resentment. It leads to a lot, right? So it's more of Sushi's going to sleep here no matter what, and I don't care what you say, what you think, or how you feel about it. So in other words, I don't even respect you enough to have a conversation. I don't respect you enough to think through it. Like Steve is trying to come up with some kind of logical way we can do this together. Steve is like, can we put the puppy here? I don't want the puppy in my face. It depends on how Sushi smells. She smells good. Like she was completely dismissive, which was completely wrong, because you have to consider your partner. If you wanted to just be you and Sushi, then it should just be you and Sushi. Or you could have dated on your own and found your own partner, right? But no, she's not like Sushi can sleep at the foot of the bed. He's like, we can get a cradle. She's like, no, she's going to sleep right here. So taking that hard stance is dangerous. It is dangerous, Noi. I'm just here to tell you. So later they go to her place, and basically Sushi's all around, and she's pretty much letting him know that, yeah, you're going to have to pick up his poop. Like there's no compromise there. You have to be willing to compromise. And I'm like, Noi, no. Like, girl, no, this is not the stand you necessarily want to take in this way. Let's have a conversation. He's a logical man. So y'all need to just talk and think this through. And how can you get to the point where you both can be comfortable? But if you have just made up your mind, and that's your mind that's made up, you're going to have some problems, right? Anyway, he says, so where is she going to sleep? Which one of these beds are coming with us? And she's like, oh, I'm going to take the little bed, but Sushi's sleeping with us. And then after how many times she said that Sushi is sleeping with him, and she said, how do you feel about that? But she really doesn't care. She doesn't care how he feels about it. That's what she wants. And that's that. He expresses how he cared for his brother's dog. And, you know, he has concerns with smell and picking up poop. Like, it's just not his thing. And he has a right to that. It's not his thing. He's not okay with it. That's okay. We're going to see what happens with the two of them. So then we go to Steven's apartment. And Steven surprised me. Like, Steven is not going to get a job. and Steven is going to enjoy his lights. And that is that. I think too though Steven was trying to poke Annoy a little bit. So to get back on track, Steven has these little string lights or whatever they are all over the place. Michael had Christmas lights on the wall. Like I don't understand. But anyway, he was excited about the lights and she's like, no, I don't like this. No, he's like, I don't like this, which I wouldn't like it either. But again, this is a time for compromise. Your partner has to feel like the home is y'all home. You know, it's like it's our home, not your home. So I'm wondering where they can meet in the middle. Like if they can have one room where Steve has his lights and his video game, like maybe that's where he does his work, like an office or something like that. I'm wondering if it's really expensive to live in Boston. If you guys know, let me know. Just because everybody has a roommate or small apartments, like the only person that has a house is Elijah. So I'm curious as to what the cost of living is there. Anyway, she wasn't feeling the lights. Noe wasn't feeling the lights. We're going to see what happened. Later, they meet with Pastor Kyle, and they're having some conversations that should have been had before Noe was saying she loved Steve. And they talk about the children. Noe wants 3 and she's not going to compromise on 3. But then again, Steven, being the logical man he is, was like, well, you know, what if one of our children has special needs? Or what, Dr. Kyle asked too, what if you can't have these children? What if it's too much? Here's the thing, until you have a child, you don't know for sure that 3 or 4 or 2 is even going to be okay with you, you know? And I say that because I've seen it. For one, but like Steve said, if there are needs that needs to be met, there's expenses. You know, he brought up love because a lot of people, once they have a child is involved, they lose touch of who they are as individuals or who their partners are, and that causes a lot of issues. Like there's a lot. So I appreciate him being a forward thinker, but no, he's not there. She's stuck on 3. And although she listened to everything Pastor Kyle had to say and what Steve had to say, because it all made sense, I can tell she's still like, no, it's going to be 3. And that's just how I feel about it. Which again, her digging in on some of these things are concerning to me. Not because I don't feel like a person should have a non-negotiable, but it's why she takes the stand. I don't even think she really knows half the time why she's taking the stand as tough as she is. She's just going to take it. Another conversation they have is about Steven and money. And Steven was like, I explained to her what I can do. So from what I can gather, Steven can make a lot of money. He can do well for himself. He doesn't want to go back to the traditional 9 to 5. He wants to figure out how to make it work. And that for Noy is concerning because she grew up in such poverty and she needs security. And again, I go back to the experts. Y'all shouldn't have never matched him because you knew he was a free spirit without a job, and you knew she had her traumas, and it would make her feel more comfortable if she had somebody that was more stable. Steven needs someone that will live off the land with him and travel with him and still be willing to have kids and understand his entrepreneurial creative mindset and where he is right now. I don't think there's anything wrong with what Steven is saying. I just don't think it's a good fit for Noy because security is important and this doesn't make her feel safe and secure. And I don't think it ever will. I could be wrong. I don't know her personally, but I don't think it would ever make her feel secure. There is a couple, I can't remember their name right now. He quit his job. He sold an invention he did, and him and his family travel around the world. They have 3 children. They live from hotel to hotel. And it wasn't until their children were in school until they settled down in one place, but they still travel, you know, and they were able to capitalize off of that. I cannot remember their name. I love this family. They swim a lot and I love water, right? Anyway, that's the kind of wife that Steve needs. Somebody that's okay with that and sees the same vision that he sees. They don't have the same vision for their future. And because it's such a sore spot and a source of pain for Noy, a source of anxiety, it's not fair to push her in that direction, I don't feel. So I don't know about these two. I think Their tradition and thoughts on family may make them stay, but I don't know if they're going to stay together long term, just because those things, how you live your life is vital, right? What you think about your future is vital. And they don't have the same vision for their future. So we'll see. But I'm wishing them the best. Next up, we have Ola and Katina. My two little... I love watching them. I know y'all. But I swear, I just enjoy watching them. They are entertaining to me. Because Katina's face says a lot. Anyway. So this is a message for Ola. Ola, it is important for you to realize and to understand that compromise and considering your partner is important. They move into their shared apartment, and they're all happy, they like the apartment, and Ola is like, yeah, the kitchen is fully stocked when you go into the grocery store. And he's pulling out pots and pans. I want you to stand over here. Let me see what it looks like. Like he has this whole fantasy. Just a side note, ladies, please understand that men have more fantasies about relationships and their future partners than we do. They make it seem like it's us, but honestly, they really do fantasize about what their relationship is going to look like and what their partner is going to look and act like. So keep that in mind when you're dating, because you want to figure out what that fantasy is, because you don't want to waste your time, because they will settle for one person for a period of time but marry the fantasy that they really had. Anyway, getting back into these two. So it was a little off-putting to me, because he was like, yeah, you're going to cook when you go to the store. And, what was concerning is she said she felt a lot of pressure, and that should not be, right? Ola is a lot, and I know Ola is a lot, but Ola, you got to remember that she is a human being, and you need to talk with her. Y'all need to communicate together. Y'all need to compromise. You can't just take the ship and go, right? That's a no-no. My question is, I wonder what she's okay with, and I wonder if Katina has given him his requirements. If she is okay with cooking for him every day because that's what he wants, okay. Now, I did like the fact that she said, I made a promise that I would do my best, okay? Which is not putting in stone that I will do this, but I'll make sure you're going to eat. It may not always be a cooked meal. You may get some delivery. You may get some fast food, you may get something, but I'm gonna make sure you eat. And if that is okay with the both of them, I'm fine with that. But if he's pushing that narrative onto her, I have an issue. Or if they haven't come into the agreement that if you do this, I'll do this, right? Like I had an ex who did not like to eat out. He did not like to go out to dinner. He only liked home cooked meals. So I would cook for him, and he would pay for me to go on my dates, like not with other people, but I like to date myself. So I like to take myself out to dinner. So whenever I went out with my girlfriends or whenever I had one of my own dates, he paid for it. And that was okay with me. I was fine with that. You know what I mean? So it's just about what works for the two of you. I would never want to push him to be in an environment that he's not okay with, and vice versa. So the only time we would go out on those kind of like dinner dates and stuff like that was when we travel. But other than that, he didn't like dating. He didn't like being in restaurants. He was extreme germaphobe, so it was problematic for him. But I understood that, and we met in the middle. So that's what I'm trying to say, is like I don't want Katina's voice to be lost. So I think Katina gets him, and she tries to handle him in a certain way so that he feels comfortable. But again, I just want her to be okay as well. And my question is, does this go both ways? But Elijah, stop pressuring her. Stop it. Elijah, in my opinion, has so many insecurities. I think he has a true identity crisis. The fact that he created Isaac says a lot, but if you really kind of think about it on a deeper level, I don't think he's ever really known who he is as a person. And I think that instability has caused him to act out. At the end of the day, he just wants to be accepted. At the end of the day, he wants people to like him, especially Katina. He doesn't want to mess this up. But he has to learn to watch how he speaks to her and how he treats her, and he needs to mind his energy. His anxiety and his energy level is a lot, and he needs to really, really work on that. So they go to his house. Now, his house is his pride and joy because he's put a lot of work into it, and he's a homeowner. Home ownership is important to a lot of people, especially if they've done a lot of projects themselves. Anybody that's a real work in real estate can let you know that. And he's seeking her approval. Olajuwon is extremely insecure. Shout out to JJD. She talked about how he needs to work on himself and not her. And I said the same. I agree. He really honestly just wants her to accept him in his home. He wants to be seen in a certain light. He's just not sure who he is. I really feel for Olajuwon, if I'm gonna be honest. And it's because I really feel like he has an identity crisis. I don't think he's ever truly known who he is as a person. I think how he was raised, his father being left, how the world sees him, his diagnosis, his actions, and I think that's why he created Isaac. He created someone to protect him. I think Olajuwon is a lot more sensitive than we may think. I think all of these actions are really a cry for help. They're really a cry for people loving and accepting him. And I go back to possible abandonment issues. I don't know him. I can't say for sure. But I think he feels like if I can impress her, she'll stay. If I can prove to her that I'm good for her, she'll stay. You know, a lot of people are just trying to stop from being hurt. They're trying to prevent themselves from being left and from being hurt. And everybody does that a different way. And I think that's part of Olajuwon's problem. I think deep down, he really wants Katina to love and accept him and see his worth, but he doesn't really know his worth. So that's troublesome to him, which probably makes his anxiety worse. Again, these are all my thoughts and opinions. I don't know these people personally. So they go to his house and he's made these changes and he really wants her to like the house. And the house does need like a woman's touch, like Dr. Pastor Kyle told him before, and some updating. He asked her opinion. She gave her honest opinion. She was trying to be gentle, but Katina was like, these curtains, which I didn't like those kitchen curtains, were not okay. And he was excited about the work that he did. I would never knock that in a person, whether I like it or not. If you did something and made you proud, I want you to be proud of it. And I think that's what Katina was trying to do. But she was also like, if I'm going to be the lady of the house, we're going to have to make some changes. And he would need to be okay with that. Again, I would recommend that they move into their own common space because that would be hard for him. Because in his mind, I think he feels like you're changing everything that I've done. Like it becomes a personal attack versus we are just trying to come together and I want to integrate myself into your space. So I think they should get a new space. But they go down the basement. It's lime green. She's like, I don't like this. She was like, I will paint the walls. She's so sweet about everything. She's like, I'll paint the walls. Like, I'll change the curtains. He's like, you like this kitchen? She's like, not these curtains. Maybe some more paint. Maybe a new countertop. He's like, you know how much that costs? And this made me think about something. So I think Olajuwon is a protector and provider. I think he would do whatever she wants. I really do. I think Katina has Olajuwon wrapped around his finger, to be honest. But he just has a lot of work to do. And I think he needs some mentorship. I think he would really benefit from like a men's group where he can have some male collaboration and mentorship. I think that would really help him on top of everything that I've mentioned before. But this is the moment I really realized like, yeah, he needs some male mentorship from someone separate from his family. But Olajuwon, let your woman be the lady of the house. Okay. You want her cooking in that kitchen. That place has to be somewhere that she wants to go, because if she doesn't want to go in the kitchen because it looks a mess or because it's dreary, because it's dark to me, she's not going to want to cook in there. So if you want cooked meals, you got to make it an environment where she wants to be. So whatever she wants, give it to her. That would be my recommendation to you. Later, they talk with Pastor Kyle, and this was like a revealing moment. And then, Pastor Kyle had been doing good until this portion, in my opinion. So Katina said she cooked garlic bread and spaghetti because that was one of his requirements. And then Pastor Cobb was like, you didn't tell us that. And he's like, yeah, it's important to me. You know, my woman, the requirements are high. Elijah Wan, stop it. Just say you like home cooked meals. Like, he postures too much. Say you like home cooked meals. Say you enjoy good food. Say you like the environment of home and family. You've been out here eating fast food and you can't cook for yourself, and you want somebody that cooks home cooked meals. Like, just be honest about it and stop trying to make it seem like this is a wifely duty. It doesn't fare well for you, sir. It doesn't look good for you. Okay. So just say what the truth is. The truth is you want good home cooked food. And that's okay. Just admit to it. But all of this posturing is not good. So Pastor Kyle said, yeah, I want to talk to you about how you talk to her. Basically, you know, this is not the 1950s. And all of these requirements and how you're speaking to her is a problem. And you can tell that he was trying to process it. He, meaning Ola, was trying to process it and take it in. He doesn't want to hurt her. He doesn't know what he's doing is the problem. But they get on the subject of intimacy. And Pastor Kyle said, have you guys been intimate? So I'm like, wait a minute, Pastor Kyle. You just said you didn't like the way that he spoke to her, but now you're talking about them having sex. Like, how does that go back to back? Now, this could be editing, but, you know, for me, it's promoting toxic relationships. Because why would you want to have them intertwined sexually when they haven't gotten their communication under wraps? I feel like that's not a good idea. I think it's okay for them to continue to go slowly and to get to know one another. We don't know what either one of them's relationship to sex is yet. And I don't think neither one of them have been really into a long-term relationship. And I have concerns about what Olajuwon's relationship with sex is. So that's something I will wait on until they get some more tools as far as like how to communicate in a healthy manner and understanding one another, you know. I think it's too soon, personally. You know, I personally think it's too soon. I don't think they need to make that kind of tie with one another. And especially with his level of experience. Now, I don't know if he's good or not, but if he's really good, that can mess up Katina's pole head. And we don't need that. We need her to be able to think logically and clearly about how she's moving forward in this relationship. Pastor Kyle asked them, whose idea was it for them not to be intimate right now? And at first, Olajuwon said it was both of their ideas. Then he said it was pretty much mine. And she looked at him like, why are you telling the story? On after party, she said he was lying about it too. But I'm curious as to why she didn't say it then. Like, again, I know there's certain conversations she wants to have in certain spaces because she wants to protect him. But at the same time, she has to understand the importance of her voice, right? So I don't know whose idea was to or not, because Katina also said that this made her not feel wanted. Well, Pastor Kyle asked her, does that make you feel unattractive? And she said, yeah. So I don't really know what is really true or not, like, or what the real reasoning is. And quite frankly, it isn't any of our business. But I wouldn't promote it right now. I would think they need to focus on other things, like continuing to build an emotional relationship and continuing to get to know each other and work on their communication skills and on themselves as individuals. If they can hold out, I think it's a good idea for these two to hold out, you know, because if they move too fast, it can turn into a real volatile, toxic relationship. One thing though, I can tell that they really like each other and they enjoy each other's company. Yeah, they get on each other's nerves. That's normal. That's natural. But they really seem to enjoy being with one another. Like, they are really in their own world. And I like that for them. I'm wishing them the best. I think them being with like some positive couples will help them too. Like if they had some kind of couples group or something like that, I think that would be good to just kind of help them. I just think they need a little bit of help, which we all do. We all do. There isn't anything wrong with getting guidance, and I think they could benefit from that. But that's pretty much it on them too. Next up, we have Mike and Jasmina. Mr. Accountability himself. I'm going to offer a trigger warning during this section. I'm going to talk about abuse here throughout this, and the importance. And I know that a lot of people may not like my stance on this couple, and that's fine. We can always agree to disagree, but I have some major concerns here, and I want to talk about it because my channel is a learning channel, and I feel like this couple is really showing us where we can learn some vital lessons so that we can date in a healthy manner and have healthy relationships. So let's get into Jasmina and Mike. Mike calls himself Mr. Accountability on the after party. So I realized that Mike uses his accountability as a weapon. His accountability is his way of getting people off his back. It's his way, in my opinion. These are my opinions. In my opinion, he says this and does this because he knows for a lot of people it's just enough, right? One of the things I liked about him initially was the fact that he took accountability, because that's the first step in making change. But without the true intention of change or true accountability, then it's for naught. And I personally feel like his accountability is false. It's false. It's for show. It's, again, like I said, just to get you off my back. So after watching their scenes and watching him on an after party, I realized that Mike has some really deep rooted issues. And if I was Jasmina, I would ask for them to end my contract. The things that I saw him do and just his behavior, his reaction, because remember, we don't really get a lot. We know he's negative and he lives in his head. Okay. That I was like, again, I've recommended that he gets some grief counseling and some trauma counseling, and that he gets some tools to learn how to express himself. But I realized, in my opinion, that he has a rage inside of him that isn't safe. I don't view it as safe at all. Not in the least bit. And I'm going to talk about why, and I'm going to give an example why a little later. So let's just talk about them. Jasmina and Mike gets back to Boston, and they go to their common space, and Jasmina is like, yeah, I gotta go. She's like, I gotta take a break. I'm going to go set up doggy daycare and everything for my doggy. I don't remember her dog's name. I didn't write it down either. But she also stated, and I'm happy I watched it twice because I missed it the first time. She also stated that she needed that time. She needed that space. She wanted to clear her head. I thought she flat out said she just wanted to prepare everything for her puppy. And I'm like, well, what does that have to do with it? Because they have cats there. Mike and Lindsay has like 10 cats. So I don't know why you couldn't bring your puppy there. And, you know, sushi's coming. But she wanted to make other arrangements for whatever reason. But she did want to also think and clear her head. I think Jasmina has some concerns. Let me tell you something. You never ignore how a person makes you feel. And if the feeling isn't good, you pay attention to that and you make adjustments accordingly. And if you don't feel safe, you get out of there. I don't care what the case is. I don't care about marriage. I don't care about any of that. If you do not feel safe, if a person, presence, or their behavior don't make you feel safe, you are not obligated to stay. And I'm going to say in my opinion because, you know, it's my opinion, but also as someone who has seen the amount of abuse that I have seen, I know that an abuser will test you. They will test you and test you to see how much you can tolerate. Mike doesn't want to be rejected. He doesn't want to be questioned. He doesn't want to be told what to do. He doesn't want you to make any suggestions. He doesn't want to be wrong. He doesn't want any of those things. And that all happens in a relationship. And the level of frustration that he gets when these things are happening are so problematic to me. And so what can happen is, yeah, there's yelling. And the fact that these things are done off camera, according to Jasmina, lets me know that when the camera leaves, it could be really bad for her. Now, Jasmina is one to stand her ground. She's not going to take anything from you and things like that. And the problem with women, or personalities, I should say, that feels like I'm strong and I can handle things, you take on way more than you should, and it can end up hurting you more in the long run, right? You don't want to have to fight constantly to be safe in an environment. That should be a given. Safety should be a given. I feel like Mike's traumas, the bullying, all these things that he has endured, I don't feel like he's dealt with any of them, and they have festered inside of him, and it has him angry. That's my assessment. That's what I see. I see pure anger, and no one is going to boss him around again. No one is going to tell him what to do again. No one is going to bully him again. And no one is going to leave on their own accord. Like, you can't walk in and walk out of my life. That's just what I see. And I'm telling y'all, I've seen a lot in my life. I really have. And I study forensic psychology. No, I'm not in school. I do it on my own accord. And it's because I've seen these things, and I need to understand people. And when you understand people and their behavior and their sources of pain and trauma, and whether or not they've dealt with them, you understand when it's time to move. And again, I go back to, if I was Jasmina, I would go. So she leaves. He didn't like it, but okay. So then they get to Michael's house. Jasmina asks him, have you ever lived with a woman before? He said no. She's walking around the apartment. Whose are these? These aren't mine. These aren't mine. Like, he won't flat out say, oh, those are my roommates. You know, even when she talked, they showed flashbacks of him and her talking, and she said she had a male roommate, and he didn't say anything. She asked him if you've ever lived with a woman before. He said never. And I'm sure she meant the exception of your sisters, but he said no, never. He didn't even say, well, I have 2 female roommates. Like, he had an opportunity to say something. He didn't say it, right? Which is concerning, okay? And so then they go back to the apartment, and I don't know how she found out, but she found out there were 2 female roommates that he lived with. And just like in the apartment, when they got back to their private apartment, he said, well, it's not like I did it on purpose. Like, he's already written this script. He's already ready, right? But he is aware of the camera, but he's ready, because you're not going to challenge him. He can do what he want to do. These are my opinions, okay? So she's like, well, why didn't you tell me? And he keeps saying, it's not like I did it on purpose. And I keep wondering, then why did you do it? Those were unnecessary lies and cover-ups, right? He pretty much was dismissive, and then he made a statement like, so, I mean, what does that mean? Really, what are you going to do about it? So I lied to you, so what? Like, again, there's so much rage there, in my opinion. And so Jasmina tells him, I don't have an issue with the fact that you live with a woman. I have an issue with the fact that you weren't honest about it. And like, even still, he was still being dismissive. You know, again, this just adds to her concerns, because she said he's been yelling at her and he's been talking to her in a disrespectful manner. Now he's lying unnecessarily and hiding things. Like, that does not foster an environment of trust. That does not foster an environment of safety. Why are you doing these things? Listen to me. If you don't ever do anything else in your life when you're dealing with people, you need to ask yourself why people are doing the things that they do, especially if it makes you feel uncomfortable. And I'm not talking about the paranoid why, like I can't trust anybody, why. I just mean, if it doesn't make sense, ask why. Why would anyone do that? Like, why wouldn't you admit to what happened? So anyway, later Pastor Kyle comes and they have a discussion, and Jasmina is sitting there. She put the Johnny pillow between the 2 of them to give them space. She doesn't like Mike. She doesn't trust Mike, and she doesn't feel safe with him. Pastor Kyle asked them what's happening, and Jasmine is giving her side of the story. And then basically, and so Jasmina is saying that, you know, she doesn't like how he talks to her. And Pastor Kyle's trying to talk. Mike's like, hold up. Like, Mike interrupts, because again, you're not going to interrupt him. Mike will never be disrespected again. He'll never be bullied again. He'll never be mistreated again, right? So he interrupts Pastor Kyle. Pastor Kyle finally is like, I can put my foot down. No, y'all gonna listen to me. But really, these are 2 very strong personalities, and it's kind of hard for him to get in. Pastor Kyle sits back for a little bit, but Pastor Kyle knew this was going to be an issue, and they kind of just ignored it. But he kind of, thinking back on it, he was like, I'm worried about Mike. He said that during the matchmaking process. So anyway, Mike says, don't say I yelled at you. If you want to say I used the tone, if you want to say I was condescending, so it's okay. It's fine for me to be disrespectful towards you, but don't say I yelled at you. Later on after party, he said, don't use the term aggressive, but that's the term he used to describe himself to her. So it's a lot of confusion there, but I have a feeling I know what he's doing. They're having this conversation, and Pastor Kyle asks Jasmina if she could forgive him. And let me tell y'all something. I would have said no. I would have said no, not without terms and condition. And I'm going to talk quickly about forgiveness. I do believe you have to forgive for yourself. But when I say forgive for yourself, that means for you to move on. It doesn't mean that person has to be an active part of your life. If you talk about forgiveness in a relationship that you are staying in, what does that forgiveness look like and what does it require? Because if I forgive you and the behavior continues, then what? Right? You don't want to necessarily give someone the opportunity to repeat a behavior that made you feel disrespected or unsafe. And this is the case here. She felt disrespected. She feels unsafe. I wouldn't just say, yeah, I can do that. I would need to do that with requirement. That would be my recommendation. There would be a certain requirement for my forgiveness if I'm going to stay here. Now, I can forgive you and go on by my life, but if we're going to work this thing out, I need to know that this will never happen again. So what does that look like? I think that is more of a discussion that Pastor Kyle should have required that they have, because his behavior is unacceptable in my opinion, and a lot of people are babying him. And I watched a lot of reviews last week. I can't wait to get to this week reviews. And a lot of people feel like, I saw in the comment section how many people are saying that Jasmina is just being so cold towards him, and why she won't, she needs to be nicer. She's not safe. She doesn't feel safe. She feels disrespected. And you don't reward that behavior with kindness. You can leave, but you need to set, or if you're going to stay, you need to set boundaries. And that's one of the things I wish that conversation would have included: the importance of boundaries and standards and requirements on how I am to be treated in this marriage. That I think is important. Yeah, she can hold a grudge. She said she was trying to work through it. She said that that's why she took her break. She said she was trying to start anew, but then he turned around and lied again. All of those things are red flags. For me, if I was Jasmina, y'all gonna get me out this contract. This is about to come to an end, because this is not the place or space to give him what he needs for this relationship to be healthy. Because he is not in a healthy space, in my opinion. There is no way I would stay in this marriage if I was her. Y'all gonna get me out this marriage. Somebody's gonna figure it out, but I'm not safe. That's how I feel. There's just a lot of buildup of hurt and pain in Michael, and it is palpable. And I saw it more on After Party than I saw it when I watched the actual episode. I saw how his eyes were shifting and how he wouldn't really look at her, and how he really was frustrated, but he was trying to hold it in, and how he was thinking too much. I can see that, but I didn't see his frustration until After Party. So on After Party, when they showed the scene, and then they showed the scene where he did not interrupt her, because Keisha asked, what were you guys arguing about? And Mike said about her interrupting him. So they show it where, in fact, she did not interrupt him, and he actually turned to her basically like, what's your opinion? What are your thoughts? Or what do you want to say? And he wouldn't really truly acknowledge it. There goes that fake accountability again. And he called himself Mr. Accountability. But again, you're weaponizing the words, because you're not really truly taking accountability. You just want people to leave you alone. I'm going to repeat that. So he wouldn't really acknowledge that he was flat out wrong. He kind of said, well, maybe she wasn't. It was so intense at that time because of the topic. He just kind of shifted the blame and shifted what really happened. He wouldn't stand 10 toes down in actually what he said and actually what happened. He didn't say, well, you know what, I was wrong. and Jasmine, I want to publicly apologize. You know, he wouldn't offer her that. He still made it seem like, well, maybe she did or maybe she didn't. It wasn't anything firm. There's some problems there. Again, I will be like, listen, how do I get out of this? Someone's going to make this happen. If I was her, she should record their off-camera conversations. I would do that. I don't know what the Boston law is about recording someone and them not knowing, but she needs to do that. Even if it's for safety issues and she just gives it to production. You are going to get me out of this agreement with him, period. Or she could just move into the next room until decision day and then say no and walk away. There are some problems there. So another thing on After Party that he did is when they were talking about him not acknowledging that he lived with 2 women. And he said, I was wrong. I should have said I never lived with a spouse before. Michael, you've never been married before. We know you never lived with a spouse before. That is a given. But he wouldn't say, I should have said I've never lived with a woman before and I had 2 female roommates. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a difference. Be mindful of what people are saying when they're talking, because words mean a lot, and how they navigate those words or manipulate those words to make you think one thing versus what they really are is another. So for me, he still wasn't really trying to acknowledge that he wasn't honest about living with 2 women. At no point was there a reason for him to just try to keep that a secret or to flat out lie about it. Why won't you just say I live with 2 roommates? What about those roommates are you trying to keep a secret? Is it the relationship that you have with them, or the inappropriateness, or really that you don't want to be questioned? I feel like it's all of the above. He doesn't want to be questioned. He doesn't want to be told what to do. He doesn't want to be corrected, and he's not going to be wrong. All of those things are red flags. Those are problems. Those are things, ladies, you do not want to deal with. Trust me when I tell you. I've always said that he needs trauma counseling, and he needs grief counseling. He needs some anger management, and he needs some therapy, in my opinion. So that's it, guys. I just want us to date in a healthy, safe manner. That is what I'm promoting. I'm going to always promote healing. I'm going to always promote getting help. I'm going to always promote counseling and therapy, because it's important. I see a lot in my medical field, and I have seen a lot in my life. A lot of things could have been avoided if people just were aware as to what was happening, and then also if people were taken seriously. But most importantly, once you get to a certain place and space in life, if people really understood who they were and had a healthy relationship with themselves, because they would trust themselves to know what's happening is happening and it's not good, and they will be okay with walking away and leaving and not choosing another person over themselves. The only time I promote you choosing another person over yourself if that's your child. But if that's not your child that is of a minor age, I do not promote you allowing a person to have agency over you that is bringing you harm, making you unhealthy, making you unhappy, and harming you. I just will never promote that. I promote counseling. I promote therapy. I promote communication. I promote self-love. I promote healing, and I always will. I've seen too much not to, okay, in my personal life as well as in my work life. So that's it for tonight's commentary, guys. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment below. Thumbs up the video if you like it, and subscribe to my channel if you like my content. Just FYI, guys, for the next 2 or 3 weeks, I have a rocky schedule. I'm traveling. There's a wedding, and there's some other things happening, so I'm gonna be a little sporadic. Please bear with me. I appreciate you for it. If you watch Ready to Love, I'm gonna do a Ready to Love review today. I probably won't do it till later, but I'll get it done today, and hopefully can get it out by tomorrow. Today is Saturday, by the way, because my week is front loaded because of everything that's going to be happening. So I wish you the best. Hugs and kisses. Please don't forget to love yourself for who you are. Have a wonderful evening. Take care. Bye bye.